Headphones out. Even if you have shaggy hair and you think you're going to hide it under it, don't do it. Get it out. You have one?
Yes, sir. I don't got one. Unless you put one on my table.
I did put one on your table. Anybody else?
Did you put in the assignment you did?
He's asking if I did my homework. Can you believe he's asking me if I did my homework? Did I mark the assignments as promised and put them in your mark?
Thank you.
Did I get rewrites ready for anyone who wanted to come at lunch? Yes. And thank you for coming, the one person who came. Two. I'm such a liar. Two people who came. For now, we will do the second part of the review. Shall we? Yes. Thank you. X-intercepts. Okay, now, listen, friends. This question, if you don't read it carefully, may encourage you to expand, because some of you are getting good at expanding. Most of you are getting good at expanding. So you might be like, oh, expand this thing. Ooh, that's not what it asks. It doesn't say expand. It said set each part that has an x value equal to 0. That is, set y equals 0. It's asking for the x-intercepts. And the day we did this, many people found this easy. Because what I'm looking for is an x value that if I used it in this question would make this thing 0. What x value is there? What number can you subtract 7 from and you end up with 0? Positive 7. And people started to memorize it. They're like, oh, I just do the opposite. And that's fine. But the problem with that is then it runs together with other information. It's just a little memory thing. If you instead go, do what I'm saying. What number will make this 0? You will remember better which questions to do which strategy with. Because there is another number that will make this 0. It's the number that makes this bracket 0. What number, when you add 4, you end up at 0? Negative 4. Okay, so the number of people who are saying that out loud, you know what's happening here. But you've got to study these things at least a little bit before the test to go, oh, in this question, I don't expand out all the brackets. It's actually easier than that. But I have to know what to do if you don't know what to do. And then that was the quiz problem. The last question of the quiz, a whole bunch of people didn't know what to do with that last question. But here's the trigger. If it says, I want the zeros, then set y to 0. Joseph, you have a question? Oh. Now that's a good question. Were you on time? Oh, no, you were the one that snuck in behind me. That was very clever. Yeah. All right. I'm going to skip number 2 for a second. I'm going to go back and do it, but I'm going to go after an easier one first, just to keep us the momentum going. This one's easier. Set y equals 0. Now I need a number. There's only one set of brackets. That actually makes the question easier, because now I'm only looking for one x value. The x value that where I add 2, I get value 0. What number do you add to and you get 0? Negative 2. And again, you can memorize it's the opposite. I'm not against that, but I worry about that move. Because if you're just memorizing that, you maybe won't know the right times to do it. Now I'm going to go after the next easiest one, which is this one. If I set y equals 0, one of the answers is easy. I need a number that when I subtract 5, I get 0. What number do you subtract 5 from to get 0? 5. So that one's x equals 5. Now this one's harder, except it's easier. Is that weird? Like it's so easy, it's difficult. What number can I make x so that x is 0? No, hold on. Listen to what I'm saying. No, listen to what I'm saying. What number do I make x so that x will be 0? 0. That's weird. That's the kind of thing that upsets people about math, is when ones like that show up. But it's actually way easier than the other one. But you have to sort of know what you're looking for. You're looking for numbers that make this 0, and an x value of 0 will make x 0, which means this whole thing comes out to 0, because they're being multiplied together. This one's much more difficult. Much more difficult. Once I set y equal to 0, I get 2 sets of brackets. And I'll say it out loud, because there might be somebody who can figure it out. But most people will have to do a little bit of work. What number do you multiply by 2, then add 1, and you get 0? That's hard. Most people can't do that in their head. So what you have to do is make a new equation. I need 2x plus 1 equal to 0. Take that thing out and separate it out and go, just let me think about this for a second. Because once you bring it out like that, then your equation solving skills could kick in, where you're just isolating x. Bring the 1 over and divide by 2. Okay? So those are difficult because there's a lot more to them. You won't be able to just look at it and figure out the number. These ones can be what we call solved by inspection. You can just look at it and go, what's the number? But as soon as they have a coefficient there, you can't. So this one, the other one here is 3x minus 4 equals 0. So you bring the 4 over and divide by 3. Okay, so those are difficult. Why do I put them on the review? Well, here's my thinking about reviews. If I put the easiest type of questions, medium ones, and tough ones on the review, you'll know it pretty well. And then when I ask medium questions on the test, hopefully you'll be okay because you did some tough ones on the review. So I don't make my tests tougher than the review. It may feel like that, but I don't. I try to choose medium ones. Try all these ones so you're ready for what I'm going to put on the test. I forgot something. I forgot to print out the solutions to your review. So I got to fix that after I've got a list in mind. Are there any questions about that? I got an easy thing and then graphing to do. Shorter review today. Shorter review today. I got both pens in my hand just in case something goes bad. Okay. Finding the y-intercept. This is different. We set x equal to 0. You liked this one. As a group, there was a whole bunch of people who came running up to tell me that they'd finished their homework in no time at all, because if you make x equals 0, life is, it doesn't look like it, doesn't it? It looks like y equals x squared minus 5x. It looks really complicated. But if x is 0, what happens to x squared?
0.
What happens to minus 5x?
0.
0. And so the answer is just
Negative 14.
negative 14. Do you remember this from the homework? Some people zip through this. They're like, wee! Whoa. My active board's doing the funky chicken there. Yeah? Now, that's when it's in standard form. When it's not in standard form, you got two choices. I showed two ways to handle this. You can sub in x equals 0, so I'll show two ways here. I can set x equals 0. I can do that. And then I get 0 plus 4 times 0 plus 7. But subbing in 0 is never very difficult. What's 0 plus 4? 4. And what's 0 plus 7? And then you just do 4 times 7. And even if you need your calculator, that's not particularly difficult. Some people will do it that way. If you don't like that, you can do your expanding using box method. So down here, here's another box method coming up here. Or window, sometimes it's called. And you expand it out like we did yesterday. And you get y equals x squared plus 11x plus 28. And after you're done expanding, it should be easy to pick off the y-intercept. It's this one right here, right? After I set x equals 0, I get y equals 28. And I taught both ways, and I didn't know which way you would do it. And it was about half and half. People who showed me, brought it up to show me, half the people did it this way and half the people did it that way, which I liked. I'm like, oh, good. Some people like one way, some people like the other way. Let's try this one together. Let's try multiplying this one out together. We'll do this by box method. Because some people on yesterday's review came up to ask me about this situation when there was numbers in front of the variables and it sort of messed them up. First box, 3x times 2x. 6, yeah, you got to multiply the coefficients as well. You still get your x squared, but now it's a 6. And then 3x times 2 is 6x. Once people got past the first box, things went better. Negative 8x, negative 8. So that went better after the first line. But after all that, what's the y-intercept? Stop sneaking your phones every time I turn away.
My brother called.
It can all wait. At 2:55, all these people are more important than me. Till 2:55, I'm your best friend. Why? Why is -8? Well, that's why. Do you mean why didn't I write it there? Or do you mean why are we setting x to 0?
Why did you do y equals 2, 0?
Oh, yes, could. Joseph says, can I just sub in x equals 0? And the answer is yes. I saw an opportunity there to talk about something from yesterday's review. So yes, you could do it that way. And you might even be really good at it. You might look at it and go, oh, if those are both 0, the answer is -8 right there. 2 times -4. It's the L in FOIL. Whoa. You might just look right there and go, oh, it's -8. Good little shortcut. Okay? I don't want everybody addicted to shortcuts, though. Shortcuts run together in your mind, and then you forget them when you need it on the test. Okay? Okay. Cool. Now we're going to tie it all together to do the graphing. I wrote your test. I made it all up. And you have to do this on one of the questions. You have to do exactly what's coming up in the next question. It's the final. Look at test hints coming here, everybody. The last question of your test looks exactly like one of these that I'm going to do next. And it's worth like 6 marks all by itself. So let's do it together. Does that get your attention? Are you paying attention now? Yeah. 6 marks right here just to know how to do this next question. It asks you to do a lot of things. Okay? Each of them is not particularly difficult, but there's a lot to do here. It first says, what's the y-intercept? We were just doing these.
-8.
Joseph says it's -8. Because he looks at this and he goes, oh, I know where to find the y-intercept. It's right here. So I'm going to write this so it becomes sort of a study page for you to look at tonight. Y-intercept, hey, that's the very last one there. Y equals -8. Because when I set x equal to 0, and I'll write that right there, 0 squared is 0, 2 times 0 is 0. That's all 0. So I get y-intercept -8. Now let's jump ahead. Let's pretend on the test. You're like, that's all I can remember. Well, at least put that on your graph. I got a graph right there, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Put that on there and go there. At least I got the y-intercept. Or maybe while you're doing it, you're putting that on there to make yourself feel better with the whole situation. Good. I've got the graph started. Now let's go back and see if I can do another step. And if I can do another step, maybe I'll get some more marks out of this. Next, I'm going to come back to it if you missed it. Factored form. Oh, again with the factored form. I've got to find the two numbers. The two numbers that multiply to -8 but add to 2. I've been given different strategies, but here's a new strategy. First, find all the things that multiply to 8. 1 and 8. 2 and 4. 3 and nothing. 4 and 2 again, 8 and 1 again. So I got all these combinations. The answer is there somewhere. Well, one of those pairs multiplies to -8. Oh, wait a minute. None of those multiply to -8. One of the numbers has got to be 8. So it's either 1 minus, I know what's happening now. When I bring the other pen too close, it's messing it up. 1 and -8, 2 and -4, maybe it's 4 and -2, or 8 and -1. One of them's got to be negative. Which of those pairs adds up to -2? 1 minus 8, is that -2? No. 2 minus 4?
Yeah.
Ah, 2 minus 4. So those are the two you put in your brackets. Now, if you can't do that by test day, well, it's a problem. You really need to be able to work that out. Now, you'll have a multiplication table. I'll make one out for each of you. And it'll be a separate piece of paper. It won't be attached to your test anymore. Just put it up in the corner and you can look at it. But somehow, some way, we got to get to the point where we can find those two numbers. Because the rest of it comes from there. If you can't do that, you're out of luck. Now, let's say you do it wrong, though. Let's say you get the wrong numbers and the wrong pitches there. But you carry on and do it all correct with the wrong numbers. I don't know if you looked at your test after I marked them. I usually write OK beside them. Okay, okay. And by okay, I mean, well, it's not right. But okay, you're doing good with the numbers that were wrong. And you can get most of the rest of the marks. So you could make one mistake, all your answers are wrong, and still get almost all the marks. So just carry on, even if you're not sure the numbers are right. So x-intercepts the zeros, that's where we do the opposite things. And I'm writing this slightly differently this time to try to help you. If you are going to use this as a study sheet to look back at, I just look at those and get the opposite number. Those are the x-intercepts. And once I have those, oh, I'm close to graphing this thing. Because if I know the x-intercepts are, what were they? Negative 2 and 4. I'm going to go back. So if you don't have a copy, that's okay. I'm going to put them on here. Negative 2, positive 4. Can you sort of picture the parabola now? Is that enough information to go, ooh, I sort of know what the parabola is going to look like now? Sort of. There's one more piece of information. If you only get those 3 pieces of information and you graph it, you'll get most of the marks. That's most of the marks right there. But there is one other little thing we can do. Axis of symmetry, it's halfway between. This note says add the zeros and divide by 2. And I did mention that trick to a lot of people, that you could just add the zeros and divide by 2. But the better move, I thought, was just to go halfway between these. And you could do it right on your graph. Look, what's halfway between negative 2 and 4? I'm just counting in, there it is, the axis of symmetry. Test hint coming. I made it the first question of the test. Tell me something about the axis of symmetry. That's what the question says. Tell me something about the axis of symmetry. You say, oh, well, it's a dotted line that goes right through the center of the parabola. Or you go, it's a line right between the 2 zeros. Either of those things will work for that mark. Okay? I'll label it on here. Axis of symmetry. So, I now have found the axis of symmetry, which is at x equals 1. And just so this fits in here, I put sub AOS of x equals 1 into factored form. I don't know if that short form is very helpful, so just draw a little arrow going. That was just a short form for axis of symmetry. I fixed it on your test. It said AOS on your test, and I was like, I actually wrote the words axis of symmetry. And then it says sub that value into the function to get the vertex. Just sub that axis of symmetry right in, and it'll tell you where your vertex is. And what is a vertex? Yeah, I know it's -9, but what in general, what's a vertex? The highest or lowest point. And again, if you need me to go back to a certain page, that's okay, but I'm going to finish this off. 1, -9, 2, 4, 6, 8. There it is, the vertex. Now I can draw the parabola. I'm going to do that all one more time on another question. So if that time through you're like, okay, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't, I'm going to do that all one more time. Do you need me to go back to the other page for copying purposes? Once we're done with that page, then I will go back to the graph, and then we'll do it all one more time, and then I will be done, except for my list of things I got to do. I got to do a homework check. I got to mark. I got to do attendance. I got to mark something, don't I? Where's my pen? Saw great video material. Anybody who's watching the video. You're copying that. I'm writing down. Attendance. Video. Solutions, which I forgot to print out because I'll get it. I'm ready. Do you need this one back now? This graph? Was it too fast? Yeah. It was good. You picked the right day, because Thursdays I don't really bring a lunch because I don't have time, because I supervise in the hallway. So that was perfect. I sushied it up. You weren't wrong about that outer thing though. You gotta be careful a little bit. On the second one, I'm like, oh wait a minute, this is what she's talking about. You can't just, you gotta seriously chew that to make sure it's ready to go. Yeah. Do you need more time? Yes? Do you need more time? Is it good? Okay, we'll do it all again. The whole procedure again. Challenge yourself. Even if you have to flip to my previous example. Where do we find the y-intercept? That part. If that's blank on the test, I'll be like, I don't know what else to say about this situation. Factored form. We need to break this thing into its two factors. We're looking for two things. Don't, Joseph, don't say it. Two things that multiply to. What do they multiply to? 7. They multiply to 7, and they add to 8. I was actually very excited in your quiz. Some people wrote multiply and add above them. That meant they're on their way to being able to do this. They at least knew what they were looking for. What two numbers multiply to 7 and add to, let me write them all over here. Here are the numbers that multiply to 7. 1 and 7 multiply to 7. So if you go on your multiplication table and look for 7, you'll see 1 times 7 is one of the possibilities. You won't find 7 anywhere else. The only other combination you'll find is 7 and 1. I'll put some like that on the quiz and the test, ones that are like, there's only one possible combination. Jackson?
It's 1 and 7.
It's 1 and 7. Yes. 1 and 7 does work. So not every question is meant to be really tricky. It's just meant to go, do you know what you're looking for here? And there's only one combination of numbers that multiply to 7, and they happen to be the ones that add to 8. So, x-intercepts. I drew arrows right underneath, hopefully to be a trigger, because I know somebody who does that now on their quiz. What are the x-intercepts then? They're the numbers that make this 0. -1, -7. And now, if you're intimidated by the axis symmetry, I encourage you to graph what we have so far. We have a y-intercept of 7. So on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then two x-intercepts, I've already forgot what they were. -1, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that helps. Getting those x-intercepts helps to find that axis symmetry. It's got to be halfway between the zeros. What's halfway between -1 and -7? I'm going to draw it on before I even know what it is. Because it's got to be halfway between those two. That's what an axis of symmetry is it's halfway between the zeros. That could be your first answer on the test. Halfway between the zeros. Or it's the center line. You know, that's what it is. Very helpful. Now I've gone to my graph, I could go back and go, oh, I didn't do what it said, the fancy trick, add them together and divide by 2. I just went to my graph and figured it out. But again, if you add them together, -1 and -7 is -8. If you divide that by 2, you get -4. That's a very fast way to do it. Last thing. And I think I could draw a parabola. If I didn't know how to do the last thing, I could draw a parabola through this, if I had to. But I wouldn't know how low to go unless I took that -4 and subbed it into the function. Y equals -4 plus 1 times -4 plus 7. I just put that x right in there, and I get -3 and 3, -9. Is the y value of the vertex. You don't need that for most of the marks. You can get 5 out of the 6 marks and not do that last step. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying, if you get to that stage like, oh, I don't know how to do the vertex. How can I finish this question? I can't do it. You still can. And get most of the marks. Love this job. So now I'll put the vertex on there. -4. I know. I got to go back. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So, go ahead. If you got that on there, you can draw it. Come on. You can draw the parabola now. I'll go back to here, and I'll draw the parabola in a minute. I'll let you finish there, because I'm almost done. Parabola. Yes, 1 mark for saying parabola as you hand in your test. Instead of parabola. It's not a parabola. 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 Sure. When you hand in your test, I'll put +1 at the top if you come in and say the word parabola. If you say parabola, though, I'm taking 1 off, though. It's a bet. It's a bet. So don't say it out loud unless you know. Parabola, not parabola. If you say parabola, you lose 1 mark. Parabola. Can't tell if you're messing with me or not. -4, -9. Okay, back to here. Here comes my parabola. Oh, I almost missed the y-intercept there. I got carried away. Through the x-intercept. Oh, I missed it again. I hope you're better at this with your pencil and paper than I am at the active board. There. Okay, so I hit it that time. It doesn't state the vertex twice on yours, right? This just has that written there twice, I think. Something. Okay. Which page do you need now, friends? You need this? Do you need the previous page? No, you're still drawing the graph? The graph of your parabola? Now I'm messing with you. Yeah, parallelogram is pronounced sort of like parabola wrong, but it's parabola. Pa. Get the pa out. Pa. Rabola. Pa. Rabola. Parabola. Do you need this page now? Some more? Do you need this page now some more?